So, today, let's talk about the Ottoman Empire. After the Sultanate of Rum, there was this one guy called Osman Ghazi, and he made his own empire and expanded it a little bit. Then his son was the second leader. Now this went on for a little bit, and then after that, there's something called the Ottoman interrogation, where basically Suleiman, Isa, and Mehmed tried to fight over the throne to see who could become leader, and becoming sultan wasn't really a good thing because, you know, you had to get your brothers executed. I'm not making that up, but the person who won, to cut it short, was Mehmed. So after Mehmed, there was Murad II and Mehmed II, and they basically fought over the throne, and Mehmed II, he ended up sieging the city of Belgrade in Serbia, and he also took the city of Constantinople and renamed it to Istanbul against the Byzantines. And then the Byzantine capital was Constantinople, so effectively they ended the Byzantine Empire after that. And since the official religion of the Ottoman Empire was Islam, they converted the Hagia Sophia into a mosque, and they made Istanbul the capital of the Ottoman Empire. So yeah, and around this time, the Ottoman Empire had control in the Balkans, and Anatolia, and also Crimea. But then they took over the Sultanate of Egypt, and the person to do that was Selim I. And his son was Suleiman the Great. The Ottoman Empire had a lot of wars with their neighbors, and there's one between Venice and Malta, but Malta had a much longer name. And then there's one between Hungary, in which Hungary, they were trying to invade Hungary, and it worked. And the Ottoman Empire also expanded into northern Africa, taking over the give me a second here. And taking over the Zayanid kingdom of Tiasmin, and also the Hafsid kingdom, and as well Malta St. John of Jerusalem, where they had control of Tripoli. So yeah, they took control of Tripoli too. So yeah, they expanded in North Africa like that. So after that, they expanded into Iraq, and they became allies with France. And at this time, the Ottoman Empire was actually pretty big. Like, they had a lot of territory. And they also took the area of Aceh, I think that's how you pronounce it, in modern-day Indonesia. And they also changed the flag. They also fought the Battle of Lepanto, which, where the Ottoman Empire versed the Holy League at, it was like a naval battle, and it took place like where modern day Greece is. So yeah, another battle they fought with the Holy League in was for Cyprus. So the Ottoman Empire won Cyprus and kept Cyprus until about like the 1900s. The ruler after this was Murad III, and he ruled from 1574 to 1595. I haven't really addressed that in my videos though, when they ruled. And in 1890, he took over some parts of the Safavid dynasty and what is now modern day Georgia, and they took control also of the city of Yerevan. And they took control of some parts in Sudan, and also modern-day Eritrea and Djibouti. And then after that, there was the Long Turkish War. There, under Mehmed III, and it was against the Ottoman Empire. They fought all the time with people, and they ended up losing the city of Vats from Austria. After that was Ahmed the First, who ruled from 1603 to 1617. The Safavid dynasty ended up taking the city of Yerevan once again, while the Ottoman Empire tried to get them to not do that, but that ended up not working. And then in 1604, around the same time that happened, a Habsburg monarchy tried to invade the cities of Vats and Pest, which ended up, the Ottoman Empire ended up taking over once again. And the Principality of Transylvania ended up becoming part of the Habsburg monarchy, but they weren't really officially part of it until much later, and they failed to capture the city of, I cannot pronounce that, by the way. Oh, and a strange little side note is that in 1615, the Ottoman Empire tried to invade the Safavid dynasty once again for historical reasons. I didn't look too far deep into that, but anyway, around this time, Ahmed also he told people to construct the Blue Mosque, which is also called the Sultan Ahmed Mosque. So yeah, that's pretty cool, I would say. And then after him, there's a little. This period was a little strange. There's Mustafa the First. He only ruled from 1617 to 1618, but he turned out to be mentally unstable. So in favor, the Ottomans chose Osman, like the people that ran the government. They chose Osman, which was, I believe, his cousin, and he ruled from 1618 to 1622, but he died at the age of 17, so the other guy to go back to was Mustafa. So he ruled from 1622 to 1623, but remember, he was mentally unstable, so then they finally chose Murad the Fourth, and he reigned from 1623 to 1640, and he became Sultan at 11. So yeah, and then after him was Abraham, I believe that's how you pronounce it, depending on, since how it's spelled, and he reigned, and he ruled the country from 1640 to 1648, and then he was executed. Not exactly sure on the reason for that, but yeah. And then after him was Mehmed the Fourth, and he became Sultan at age 8 after his father was executed. He ruled from the 8th of August 1648 to the 8th of November 1687. He ruled about 40 years. So yeah, and another war that they had was the Great Turkish War. It was the Ottoman Empire with Hungary, Transylvania, Moldova, Volhynia, and Crimean Khanate with the Ottoman Empire. Those were with the Ottoman Empire. The ones who weren't, you can just read on the screen, there's too many. But anyway, this lasted a little bit, obviously, and it's like Austria-Hungary ended up taking what is modern-day Croatia, Hungary, and that's when around the time they took over Transylvania too. And at this time, Montenegro ended up declaring themselves an independent country, but it wasn't still really official that much. So yeah. And then after that, there's just sultans who didn't really rule for that long and didn't really accomplish a lot of things during their reign, and you can see on the screen what they did. So yeah, Okay, so after all of that was Mustafa III. His reign was from the 30th of October 1757 to the 24th of December 1773. And he had a treaty with Prussia so he could have like good relations with the country. Yes, Prussia was a country. I know that sounds a little strange because it sounds similar to Russia. And sorry if you didn't know. But then they fought the Russo-Turkish War for the Crimean Khanate, and the long story short, the Russians ended up taking Crimea, so they lost Crimea after that. After him was Abdulhamid the First, which he ruled from 1773 to 1787. I mean, 1789. Sorry about that. And then after him was the 28th Ottoman Sultan, who was Selim III. He ruled from the 7th of April 1789 to the 29th of May 1807. So yeah, that's pretty cool, I would say. And he had some plans of reforms of several things, and he also fought the Austro-Turkish War from 1787 to 1791. Nobody really gained anything from it. Austrians stopped fighting at the city of Vienna, like they stopped the Ottomans, and the Ottomans, like basically in that war they tried to expand more into Europe, but they ended up not making any progress from that whatsoever. And in 1805 there was the Muhammad Ali dynasty in modern-day Egypt, which basically effectively lost Egypt from the Ottomans. Like the Ottomans lost Egypt after that, basically. And then after that, there was Mustafa the Fourth, which he reigned from 1807 to 1808. He didn't really rule that long. And then after him was Mahmud the Second. He was the 30th Ottoman Sultan. He's a little, some people might know him a little more, on history and stuff. He ruled from the 28th of July, 1808 to the 1st of July, 1839. During this time, there was the first Saudi state, which I cannot pronounce, and, yeah, they didn't really like that, and they fought like a war with them. And also, in 1822, the Hellenic Republic gained independence, which is modern-day Greece, if you don't know. So, yeah. And, after that, there was the Tanzimat reform, which means you could basically be any religion you want to. And then he did, legal reforms and military reforms, like several reforms after that, to make living in the country, better. And, unfortunately, during this time, France invaded modern-day Algeria and took control of it all the way till, like, the 1960s, almost. And then there's Abdulhamid the First. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I don't know if I did. He reigned from 1839 to 1861. He changed the flag to this, if you can see on screen. So yeah. Then after him was Al-Abdulaziz, who ruled from the 2nd of June 1861 to the 30th of May 1876. And he was actually the first sultan to have a picture of, like that people have a picture of. And at his reign, the Ottoman Empire was losing territory really quickly at this point. So yeah, that wasn't really so good. And then after him was Murad V, who ruled from the 30th of May 1876 to the 31st of August, 1876. He became mentally ill, that's why he only ruled for 1 year. So yeah. And then after that, sorry about that. After that was Abdul Hamid, who the second. 2 words this time for some reason. His reign was from the 30th of August, 1876, to the 27th of April, 1909. This was the first sultan to reach the 20th century. And also at this time, the Ottoman Empire was getting really pushed out of Europe. The Hellenic Republic ended up taking quite a bit of land. Montenegro ended up taking a little more land. Serbia declared independence and took a bit of land, obviously. Bulgaria declared independence. Romania declared independence. And in Bulgaria, there is the Eastern Rumelia. I think that's how you pronounce it. And that was still technically part of the Ottoman Empire, just in case if you didn't know. And the Ottoman Empire was quickly losing territory in northern Africa too. Like in 1880, Tunisia became part of France, like the French Empire, and then Egypt was ceded to the UK in 1881. So at this time, all they had was just modern-day Libya. Now around this time, not a lot of people talk about this, but briefly, there's the Republic of Krushevo, which were Macedonian rebels, and they were against the Ottoman Empire. They wanted to kick them out, but they only lasted in 1808, and that was it. And then in 1808, there was a second constitutional era, where people wanted more autonomy and several other things to make it a little more laid back in the Ottoman Empire. And also Eastern Rumelia, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, what was ceded to Bulgaria around this time also. After him was Mehmed V, who ruled from the 27th of April 1909 to the 3rd of July 1918. And quickly, only 2 years after he started his reign, Italy had a brief war with the Ottoman Empire to get to get Libya, and they ended up taking it over. So yeah, and in 1912, the people in the Balkans really wanted the Ottomans out, so they ended up taking over all of Ottoman Europe except for the city of Istanbul. It's like they ended up taking swaths of land that the Ottomans controlled, and also Albania declared independence during this time. So all they had left in Europe was just Istanbul, and the border just ended there. And that was the first Balkan War, basically. The second Balkan War, Bulgaria wasn't glad with the land they had, so they tried to get more land, and in the result, they ended up getting less land. But the Ottoman Empire ended up getting East Thrace. So yeah. Then next was the Great War, aka World War I, where the Ottoman Empire went with their allied power, Germany. I know I also include Denmark in there, sorry about that. But anyway, since they joined the Axis powers, the UK and France saw them as a huge threat because they were part of the Axis powers. That was one of the reasons. So basically, British and French politicians dressed up as Ottomans and attacked Crimea, and Russia ended up declaring war on the Ottoman Empire, putting more stress on it. And they really tried to do everything to stop the Ottoman Empire, because in modern day Iraq, there was lots of oil there, and British and the UK wanted that oil. So they had a port in Kuwait, modern day Kuwait, and they ended up trying to siege the city of Baghdad, but we'll talk about that just a little later. And then around this time, the Ottoman Empire tried to invade Russia through the Caucasian region, but that failed because it was extremely cold and they weren't ready for it. Then they tried to take the Suez Canal from the British, but that failed too. And the Allies, along with Australia and New Zealand, who were also allies, part of the Allies, they tried to take the city of Gallipoli, but that ended up not working. So, the Ottomans, they wanted to blame the Armenians for some of their losses during the wars, so they ended up having the Armenian genocide. And around this time, that one person, Lawrence of Arabia, you guys probably know who that person was. He was a British person, and he convinced the Arab tribes there to stop the Ottoman supply lines. And they also saw that the Arabs tried to declare independence. So around this time, Mehmed the sixth got the throne, and he became the Sultan on the 4th of July 1918, and his reign stopped in the 1st of November 1922. He was the last Ottoman Sultan. Obviously you can see he didn't really rule for that long, for several reasons, because at this point the Allies were taking over the Ottoman Empire, and other than that, they also had puppet states like the Sultanate of Nejd and the Hashemite Kingdom of Hejaz. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And the Sultanate of Nejd was another Saudi state. So yeah. The Grand National Assembly abolished sultans in 1922. So yeah. But there's one soldier from the Ottoman Empire, Mustafa Kemal. Later, his last name was Ataturk. He was the first president of Turkey. He was in office from 1923 to 1938. And during his reign, they abolished the Arabic script and started to use the Latin script. And also, they made separation of church and state. So it's like religion was completely free now. And Greece ended up trying to take over Turkey in the brief war for a few years. But Turkey ended up getting the Greeks out, and they moved the capital to Ankara in 1923, I believe. And they also changed the flag for the crescent to be much thinner. So yeah, that's interesting. And also, after Mustafa Kemal, there was, in 1939, Turks rose in, tried to be a part of Turkey in the modern province of Hatay, and like the British and French said, oh, the Ottomans are trying to take back their own land. But after that, in 1970, Turkey invaded the island of Cyprus, not wanting Greeks to take it over because they had control of it. And then in 1983, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus came into existence, only recognized by one country. You could probably guess which one. And now we're at today. Now, I put the 5 most visited cities in Turkey up there, and the most visited city and most populated city is Istanbul. The Hagia Sophia has turned into a museum now, and it's just a really interesting and a really interesting place to go to now. And they're trying to join the EU, but they're having several difficulties trying to. And there's also in the eastern part of the country a lot of Kurds, but they will not recognize a Kurdish state. And the current president is Tayyip Erdogan. He hasn't been very favored by the public though. So yeah, politics change in the future, so who knows what could be next for Turkey. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. This took me a long time to make, and my voice is starting to hurt anyway, but I hope you liked the video. Subscribe if you like to, and also subscribe to my other channel, LegoNick33. Goodbye.